Hello and welcome to Jessie Bear Book Club, the only book club where we don't always talk about books. But today we are. We are going to be reviewing The Cardinal, The Secret Life of Thomas Wolsey by Alison Weir. This book came out last May. The book starts going through Thomas Wolsey's education and family life, and how that instilled in him a good work ethic and a sense of responsibility to the people he loves, even if his career always comes first. Wolsey is not averse to spending money, and the chapter where he spends the entire school's budget on fixing a tower was a good showcase of this. However, the fact that Wolsey is not from a good lordly family means he is overlooked for preferment until his late 30s. The scene where Wolsey gets drunk and ends up in the stocks because he was upset his patron died was very funny and gave me drunk tank vibes. Wolsey gets in good with Henry VII quickly, becoming his almoner, and then is terrified when the old king dies, worrying young King Harry won't like him and see him as old. But early on, Harry sees how smart, loyal and hard-working Wolsey is, and soon he is back in the king's good graces as almoner. Wolsey's rise is fast and steady in equal measure. It happens over years, and he does earn pretty much every preferment he gets, but he is overly proud and is steadily making enemies of the old guard, including the Duke of Norfolk and Buckingham, chief among the men who dislike him. Wolsey tries to level the playing field, though, and promotes Suffolk, knowing that Suffolk owes his wife and his life to him. Wolsey also tries to dismiss the minions on multiple occasions. It is very interesting getting Wolsey's POV and knowing now that Wolsey actually respects Queen Catherine of Aragon, because in The True Queen, from Catherine's POV, she thinks Wolsey hates her and hates Spain, which definitely is not the case. Wolsey just wants peace and what is best for England and him. Wolsey's affair with Joan is sweet but kind of one-sided. He adores Joan, he worships the ground she walks on, and I think she does love him, but has an eye to what he can do for her and her family. And I do think he loved her more than she loved him. The fact that Joan and Wolsey have to give up Thomas and then Dorothy, their two children, is heartbreaking, especially when they have to give up Dorothy. The scene when they both start crying outside the nursery was very touching. The king is such a prude about Wolsey having a mistress and children. I think Alison Weir captures Harry's priggish nature very well here. One rule for the king and a rule for everybody else. Wolsey is slowly becoming the master of all he surveys, and it suits him to be in charge, but he is definitely self-important, and this is angering the people around him. He makes enemies left, right and centre, both of the old guard and the new guard, but Wolsey doesn't care because the king loves him. But it is a very dangerous place to be. If he ever lost the king's favour, he wouldn't know what to do. But Wolsey has the moral authority of the church behind him and the Holy See of Rome, so he definitely is powerful in his own right. Wolsey loves spending money and building stuff and reveling in all he surveys, and is really annoying the nobility because he's richer than most of them. They are jealous, and that is dangerous. Joan tells him to be prudent in showing his wealth and power, but Wolsey doesn't listen to her because he loves material wealth. When Harry gets Bessie Blunt pregnant, Wolsey helps cover up the pregnancy and gets Bessie married off very quickly. But this angers Harry, who doesn't take it well and wants to make Bessie his official mistress. So, as payback, Harry orders Wolsey to send Joan away and marry her off. Thomas Wolsey is distraught by this and considers giving up his place in the court and the royal council, taking Joan to York and simply being the Archbishop. But he doesn't, because he loves his career more than he loves Joan, and this breaks Joan's heart. She agrees to be married off and decides she doesn't want to live in sin anymore, telling Wolsey that he has made his choice and he has chosen his career, not her. Wolsey, although understanding of the reasons she is leaving, is heartbroken, especially when he discovers that her husband is unkind to her, and he is even more distraught when he realizes that Joan is pregnant with a baby, which is probably his. And once the baby is born, it is a miniature Thomas Wolsey. Wolsey is even more distraught by the fact that he cannot be in this new child's life at all. But he doesn't begrudge Joan her chance to finally be a mother. To overcome his sorrow, Wolsey throws himself into work, planning the field of cloth of gold, and then gets it all thrown back in his face when Henry decides he doesn't like the new French king and has made an alliance with Spain behind Wolsey's back. Then it is work, work, work for Wolsey and missing Joan. On and off during these years, Henry has gone back and forth on wanting a divorce from Catherine after each failed pregnancy. But when she goes through menopause early, he directs Wolsey to discreetly start making inquiries about a divorce in Rome. But Wolsey feels there is very weak grounds for a divorce, and his heart isn't in asking for one. Then, drum roll please, enter Anne Boleyn. The rest of the book I found quite sad, because I knew what was coming. Though, seeing all of this through Wolsey's POV was interesting, because he doesn't actually hate Anne. He thinks she is annoying more than anything else. In the beginning, she isn't even that prominent. Then Wolsey starts to notice that she is up-jumped, and Henry is spoiling her. But he doesn't hate her. He doesn't really start worrying until Henry makes it blatantly obvious that he plans to marry Anne. He is actually very practical about the whole situation, and he finds it annoying that Catherine of Aragon is being stubborn and standing on principle. Wolsey, in his heart of hearts, is a practical person and doesn't understand why Catherine is being so impractical. He knows that what the king wants will come to pass one way or another, and her standing on principle is just making everything much more difficult. Then you have Campeggio, who is driving Wolsey completely insane with his gout and his prevarications. It's very sad reading how practical Wolsey is about his downfall, because he's seen it coming for years. The bit when Henry rides away from him made me very upset. God, Henry VIII could be a prat sometimes. I'm glad, though, that when Wolsey went to York, he found comfort in his flock and his faith. But his death was a simple thing that he was rushed towards by fear of the executioner. I couldn't help wondering in these last chapters if Alison Weir would take the same route as the Tudors TV show and have Wolsey commit suicide, but I'm very glad she didn't. I give this book 7 out of 10. I really enjoyed it, but it was a little bit too political for my taste, and I don't think I'm going to reread it anytime soon. There should have been a few more sex scenes, and that's rich coming from me, who always says there's too many in TV shows. Goodread gives this 4.1 out of 5, and I think that's a fair score. I may finally get around to watching A Man for All Seasons now, and doing a review of it here. What do you guys think? Remember to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. I have lots more Tudor content and a whole Alison Weir playlist of reviews. Until next time, guys,